What's up guys, it's me Vilkas. Today for you guys I have a Modern Combat 5 video. This video has been requested for me to make by Radu from Gameloft, so it's a Gameloft video. But they wanted me to talk about Modern Combat 5, and I talked to them a little bit. I said I want to make a comparison between Modern Combat 5 and Modern Combat Versus. I want to see where Modern Combat is headed and compare the two games as they are right now. This is before Modern Combat Versus has come out publicly. It is in soft launch on iOS if you guys are watching this way later on. And Modern Combat 5 is, I believe, in its third year of public download availability. So, I want to start off by talking about Modern Combat 5 and its current status, and how the development and how Gameloft is supporting it. And right now there's consistent new updates. I believe they're on update number 15, and they're constantly adding in, well, they've added in already 2 new classes in addition to their sniper, recon, heavy, and assaulter classes. And then they've also added in tons and tons of new weapons, skins, maps, modes, not attachments unfortunately, but that's okay. But so they've obviously added in tons and tons of new content to the game persistently over the last 3 years, which is much more than they have for any of the previous Modern Combat games in the franchise. They also have frequent tournaments with cash rewards at the end, trying to make the game a legitimate esport game. And I believe they actually had some sort of contract with an esports company. I forgot what it was called actually. I haven't been really following the competitive side of Modern Combat 5 fairly recently. One of the more interesting things about Modern Combat 5 is that they've actually maintained a fairly large player base even after a bunch of controversy with supply packs and pay-to-win stuff. And I'd really like to talk about how the developers are sort of trying to go away from the pay-to-win system in Modern Combat 5, and most recently, in the last couple of updates, they've introduced regular credits and supply drops from just participating in the game, just by playing the game, which is, you know, something that's really, really good. It really shortens the gap between people who purchase supply drops and then also just those people who want to play the game for free and just want to get the content just by playing the game. One of the most recent things they've done is actually removed the energy system within the game in Modern Combat 5. And honestly, I believe that's a good thing. I believe that it's, you know, it unifies the whole player base a little bit better. Obviously, because then, you know, people who haven't paid for the game when it was premium and when it originally was released are now able to play the game just as often as those who did buy the game in its first year of conception. Unfortunately, I was one of those who purchased the game when it originally released in August of 2014, and I spent about $15 on the game, buying it for both iOS and Android. And those of us who bought the game on premium while it was premium feel a little bit cheated, because the only thing that was dividing, you know, the people who actually, you know, purchased the game with those, you know, against those who just downloaded the game for free was the energy system most recently. So those of us who did pay feel kind of cheated, and we're wondering what is, you know, Gameloft going to do for us, the people who purchased the game, and they promised that we would never have to use the energy system, which, you know, they've held up that bargain. We've never had to pay for the energy system, but now we're out here hanging dry, and they've just taken $15 from us. So, I mean, we didn't pay for early access to the game, so what did we pay for? That's my question. We didn't get anything else, really. We got one skin, which was a veteran skin. We're not getting extra supply drop rates. We're not getting anything like that. We just paid them $15, I guess, to have no energy for 3 years. So that's where my head's at right there. So I'd like to hear back from the developers on that one a little bit, or Gameloft. If it was Gameloft's decision, then I want to hear back from them. So how does it compare to Modern Combat Versus? Well, first I really have to analyze Modern Combat Versus a little bit to then, you know, be able to compare it to Modern Combat 5. Modern Combat Versus is made by Gameloft Montreal, who have also made a tremendously loved game called Modern Combat 4. Modern Combat 4 was a game based off of the Havoc engine. It was tremendously successful. It had one big update, and it had very little bugs. It was very, very fun. It had a huge competitive community around it, and it's still there. If you go back, a lot of people there are big snipers. They all enjoy it, but a lot of people have now moved on to different games for sure. Modern Combat 5, though, was made by a relatively untested Romanian studio, Gameloft studio, and they were heavily regulated by Gameloft. It's kind of evident in the updates and the way the game kind of headed after its initial release. After the initial release, the game was beautiful. There was very little wrong with the game. It was premium. It was, you know, a legitimate premium game, and then all of a sudden Gameloft wanted to monetize every single thing they could within the game, unfortunately. So I wonder whether it was the you know, developer studio's idea to implement all the monetization, or Gameloft. If it was Gameloft's, you know, I think the Romanian studio did a good job making the game. There's very little things that are wrong with the game. Unfortunately, they still haven't fixed the grenade kills through walls glitch, but otherwise the game looks great. It's a lot of fun until it comes to the pay-to-win monetization aspect of the game. So I wonder who got to make the decisions there. But now let's move on to the multiplayer. Modern Combat Versus is only multiplayer, and that's a completely new direction in the Modern Combat franchise, because Modern Combat has always had a campaign story to go along with the multiplayer portion of the game. Now, I'm not saying that the campaign stories were any good. They were never really, you know, praised on their storytelling in the game, so there's one thing to say. But I always do enjoy a campaign or story mode within a FPS game. That's just my own personal opinion. And with all the, you know, the content that, you know, Modern Combat 5 has been getting, I've always wondered, why don't they just include a little bit of story mode stuff for the campaign? You know, why not integrate some more storytelling into the campaign of Modern Combat 5? If they, you know, if they have the, you know, resources to do so, why not add something in there? Why not appease, you know, both the people who like to play multiplayer and those who enjoy storytelling, you know, parts of the games? So that's multiplayer. And Modern Combat 5 recently, in the last year or so, has really been pushing towards esports, like I mentioned earlier in the video. And it's been fairly successful. There's quite a few clans who are a part of the tournament regularly, and they do receive monetary rewards, like I mentioned earlier. But what will happen as soon as Modern Combat Versus releases? Because we know Modern Combat Versus is a strictly multiplayer game that's highly competitive. It's very, very reminiscent of something like Overwatch, with how competitive it could be. And my question is will Modern Combat Versus tournaments supersede Modern Combat 5 tournaments? What will be the result? Who's going to be switching over? I don't know whether it's going to be Gameloft's decision to either sponsor, you know, the tournaments, or is it going to be the community's decision to transfer over to a different game, whether it be Modern Combat or something completely different. So I think that's really something, or like Critical Ops. I think that'd be something really to dive into and see what would happen, you know, as soon as Modern Combat Versus releases. What is going to happen in terms of Modern Combat 5? What's going to happen with Modern Combat 5? Is Gameloft going to give it more support, or are they going to completely just abandon it and then push all their assets into Modern Combat Versus? I'd also like to talk about the customization, the differences between Modern Combat Versus and Modern Combat 5. Modern Combat 5 is based on a class-based customization system, like I mentioned earlier, and then Modern Combat Versus is based off an agent system, which is you have an individual character with a special ability, whereas, you know, in Modern Combat 5, yes, the classes did have their own special abilities, but they weren't overpowering. The Modern Combat Versus agents have abilities that are tremendously significant in their importance with how the game plays out, its outcome, and such like that. So they've also got potential skins and customization in Modern Combat Versus. Unfortunately, a lot of it's locked behind, you know, the soft launch, not giving us all the content yet. But in Modern Combat 5, we've had skins, new weapons, attachments, mods, different power armor suits for Modern Combat 5. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what the full content of Modern Combat Versus is going to be, Guys, let me know what you guys think down in the comment section down below. I hope you've all enjoyed. Comment, rate, subscribe. I hope to see you all later on. Thanks for watching.